Have you ever tried to walk away from a shadow? It's a curious thing, isn't it? It's impossible. It follows you everywhere, no matter how fast you run or where you go. For Africa, colonialism is that stubborn shadow, lingering long after the colonizers have left. The flags may have changed, but true freedom is more than a new anthem or a different flag. It's about making your own choices, not having someone else's shadow dictate your path, your future. This isn't about blame, it's about understanding the depth of the impact. Why is the shadow still so long? Why does it seem to stretch endlessly? Why does it get darker at times, casting a deeper gloom over progress? Understanding it is the first step to stepping into your own light, to finding your own path. Think of it like a relationship. Africa left a controlling partner, but the ex still has a key, still calls, still pays some bills, on their terms, not Africa's. Africa is officially independent, but the influence, the advice, the economic strings, they're still there, pulling subtly. It's a complicated breakup, and it's not over yet. The ties are hard to sever. We need to talk about how Africa can finally change its number and get its own keys cut, to truly be free. So let's trace this shadow back to its source, to understand its origins. We'll look at how it started, how it was cast so long ago, how it shows up in everyday life, in the small and big moments, and how people across the continent are working to shrink it, to make it less daunting. This isn't a story of victimhood. It's a story of resilience and determination. It's a story of strength, of people coming together to build a brighter future. It's about people ready to build a future so bright, there are no shadows left at all, only light. It's a story about finding the sun, about hope and renewal. And trust me, in Africa, there is plenty of sun. Let's begin this journey together. Let's rewind to the late 1800s, a time when Africa was a continent of thriving kingdoms, bustling villages, and diverse cultures stretching from the deserts of the north to the rainforests of the center and the savannas of the south. Imagine Africa as a beautiful cake, rich, layered, and full of unique flavors, each region with its own traditions, languages, and ways of life. Then, European powers showed up with sharp knives, slicing it up at the Berlin Conference, without inviting any Africans to the table, making decisions that would change millions of lives forever. They drew lines on maps, splitting communities and lumping together people with nothing in common, ignoring ancient boundaries and relationships that had existed for centuries. But it wasn't just about land. They took diamonds, gold, rubber, coffee, resources that made Africa rich, and used them to make Europe richer, extracting wealth while leaving little behind for the people who lived there. Worse, they tried to erase people's sense of self, teaching that African cultures were backward and languages unworthy, pushing a narrative that Europe was the center of civilization. Schools taught French history and English literature, aiming to create people who looked African but thought European, shaping minds to fit a foreign mold. After World War II, things changed. Europe was weakened, and Africans rose up demanding independence, inspired by new ideas of freedom and self-determination. New flags, new anthems, hope in the streets. The air was electric with dreams of a future shaped by Africans themselves. But when colonial powers left, they didn't just say goodbye. They packed their bags but left their fingerprints everywhere. They left behind systems, economic structures, political borders, and ways of thinking designed to benefit them, not the people who would inherit them. It was like handing over the keys to a house, but all the wiring and plumbing still led back to Europe, making true independence a challenge from the very start. The fight for the flag was won, but the fight for true independence was just beginning, a struggle that would take generations. The shadow remained, just harder to see, woven into daily life and the very fabric of society. Understanding this history is key to understanding the present, because the echoes of the past still shape the choices and challenges of today. The legacy of colonialism isn't just in the past, it's in the systems that shape Africa today, from government to education to the economy. The question is, how do you break free from a trick that's still running, even after the magician has left the stage? How do you reclaim what was lost and build something new? That's what we're here to explore. The story isn't over. In fact, it's just getting interesting, as new generations step up to write the next chapter. Let's see how that shadow shows up in everyday life, in the markets, the schools, and the dreams of ordinary people. The past is never just the past. It's alive in memories, in stories, and in the places people call home. It's the foundation for everything that comes next, the base on which new dreams and futures are built. And Africa is ready to build something new. The journey continues, and the future is full of possibility. Let's move forward. Today, colonial influence is subtle, like a software update you never agreed to, running quietly in the background, shaping daily life in ways that often go unnoticed. In many African countries, the official language for business, government, and even education is still English, French, or Portuguese, remnants of a colonial past that linger in boardrooms and classrooms alike. This creates barriers for millions who speak local languages, making it harder for them to access opportunities or participate fully in society. On screens and airwaves, Hollywood movies and Western music often dominate, pushing local stories aside and shaping what's seen as cool or aspirational. Western brands and fast food are seen as status symbols, while local alternatives are sometimes viewed as old-fashioned or less desirable, especially among the youth. Even beauty standards have been shaped by Western ideals. Lighter skin, straighter hair, and certain facial features are often held up as the norm in media and advertising. But things are changing. Movements are rising to celebrate African beauty, natural hair, and dark skin, challenging old stereotypes and inspiring pride in local identity. The influence runs deep. It's not just politics or economics, it's how you see yourself in the mirror, how you define your own worth and identity. The good news? More Africans are reclaiming their image and their voice, telling their own stories and redefining what it means to be African. The shadow is shrinking, but it's still there, visible in architecture, language, and everyday choices. Recognizing it is the first step to stepping out of it. Awareness sparks change, and change begins with honest conversations. The next step, breaking economic chains. Let's talk money, and how financial independence can help rewrite the story. Money is the strongest chain of all. Many African economies still export raw materials and buy back finished products at higher prices. It's like selling tomatoes for $1 and buying back ketchup for 10. This cycle keeps nations dependent and vulnerable to global price swings. True economic independence means building factories, not just growing crops. Then there's debt and aid, loans that come with strings attached, often forcing cuts to health or education. Sometimes the help ends up hurting the poorest and giving foreign companies more control. Governments become more accountable to lenders in Paris or Washington than to their own people. It's a trap. You need money to develop, but the conditions make real progress harder. It looks like help, but it doesn't get you anywhere. Breaking this cycle is essential for real freedom. Next, let's look at politics and power. Politically, Africa has long been a chessboard for outside powers. During the Cold War, the US and USSR propped up dictators, caring more about loyalty than democracy. Today, Western nations push for their version of democracy, sometimes threatening sanctions if African countries don't comply. International bodies like the UN Security Council are dominated by Western powers. Africa has little real voice. One-size-fits-all solutions rarely work for a continent as diverse as Africa. True self-determination means African solutions for African problems. The next chapter, reclaiming culture and identity. Culture is the soul of a people, and Africa's is vibrant and alive. For years, colonial influence tried to convince Africans their culture was inferior. But now, a cultural renaissance is underway. African designers are redefining fashion with traditional fabrics and modern flair. Nollywood tells African stories for African audiences, showing the world the continent's diversity. Streaming services are taking these stories global, inspiring a new generation. Indigenous languages are being revived in literature and music, reclaiming identity. Language is more than communication. It's a carrier of history and worldview. To reclaim it is to reclaim your soul. This cultural rebirth is the foundation for everything else. When you know who you are, no one can tell you who to be. The future is being written in African voices, and those voices are getting louder. True independence is being built every day by real people. Leaders like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala are fighting for fairer global trade. Young entrepreneurs, like the creators of M-Pesa, are solving local problems with local solutions. Writers like Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie challenge the world's single story of Africa. Activists are fighting for democracy, women's rights, and environmental justice on their own terms. The real leaders aren't just in government, they're farmers, teachers, doctors, coders, and artists. They're building a stronger, more self-reliant Africa, brick by brick. The continent's greatest resource isn't its minerals, it's its people. The proof is everywhere. The future is in African hands. So, how does Africa move forward? There's no magic answer, but there are powerful steps. First, strengthen trade within Africa. The AFCFTA is creating a huge market, keeping more African money in Africa. Second, revolutionize education. Teach African history, invest in STEM, and train local experts. Third, champion local industries. Support made-in-Africa products and businesses. Every local purchase is a vote for economic independence. Finally, build political and mental unity. Africa's diversity is a strength, but unity on big issues is key. Speak with one voice on the global stage. Believe in Africa's ability to solve its own problems. This self-belief is the fuel for the journey ahead. The steps are clear. The will is there, the time is now, the journey continues. The road to true independence is long, but something has shifted. A new generation is building the future, not waiting for it. Africa's story is no longer one of problems, but of solutions, innovation, and hope. The West must become a partner, not a patron. Africa has risen. It's time the world noticed. Creativity, innovation, and passion are everywhere. The shadow of colonialism is long, but the African sun is stronger. Every morning it rises, pushing the shadows back. The future of Africa will be written in its own cities, languages, and dreams. The story is just getting to the best part. It's not about breaking away, but breaking through. The sun is rising, and it's a beautiful sight.